Yes. Bueno, welcome, Patti, gracias por esta oportunidad. Bueno, yo quisiera felicitarte porque es un honor poder estar entrevistándola. Sabemos de tu extensa carrera, pero yo quiero empezar por una cinta que me parece fenomenal, que es Sid and Nancy y el síndrome Omega. Entonces yo quiero preguntarte sobre qué papel de estos roles recuerda con mucha emoción, alguna experiencia, una anécdota por contar.
Okay, Mrs. Patty, as you heard, yes, we are going to ask you about that amazing movie that is Sid and Nancy. And of course, we are also going to ask you about the Omega Syndrome. We had the load to had Sander Berkeley here in the channel. He was one of our first guests. What are the memories that you got from these productions, starting with this interview?
Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to say that you mentioned Xander Berkeley, and I don't know how exactly it was you chose me to be on your program, but I actually did 3 movies with Xander Berkeley, and I did a play with him, and then we ended up living together for about 8 years. And so we're still very good friends. That was a long time ago. But so I called him and asked him like how it was that, because you guys sent me a list of videos to watch, and he was the first one. So I was surprised.
And I'm surprised too. We didn't know that.
Isn't that funny?
Oh my God.
I know. So you want to know about Sid and Nancy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Here's my Sid and Nancy story. So, gosh, how old was I? I was very young. I want to say, I think I was like 23, 24, maybe. I don't even know how I got to the interview, but it was Vicki Thomas was the casting director, and she is now and has been for many years a huge casting director. She's cast so many things. Anyway, it was her very first movie to cast, and she had me in the office, and she explained she spent a half an hour explaining the entire movie, which was phenomenal because these days, first of all, we don't even see casting directors in real life anymore. But for them to actually spend time explaining anything to you is nothing short of a miracle. So it was pretty incredible. And I read it, and I was reading for the role of Nancy Spungen. So I read her novel, and, I did my research, and then I was called back, and then I was called back again. I was called back 5 times for the role of Nancy in Sid and Nancy. And the last time I was reading with Gary Oldman, and there was a handful of girls there. And when I walked in, he came about up to here on me. He's a small man, and I'm not that tall, but I was considerably taller than he was. And I felt like we were 2 actors acting. It wasn't like we didn't have a lot of synergy, So I left there thinking, you know what? I probably didn't get it. And it turns out I didn't get it, but I was the second choice. So when I saw the movie, and then later on, while they were filming, I get a call, and they said, we need you to come be in the movie tomorrow. Do you have any 60s clothing, any kind of 60s dress up kind of clothing? And because I'm an actor, I have tons of costumes. So I grabbed a bunch of stuff and went there the next day, and they explained to me that I was to portray Britt Eklund, I don't know if you know who Britt Eklund is. You do. Okay, good. And apparently she had something going on with the Sex Pistols for a very short time. And I didn't have a title. I think they called me the Sultry Blonde or something. But so I'm there. I'm excited. I'm in my little cute outfit. I go to the set. They place me. I don't know what I'm doing. And so everybody's ready. And Alex Cox, the director, who's English, says, "And action." And everybody looks at me, and I'm really young. I hadn't really done any films at all. I didn't know what was going on. And they all look at me and nothing happens. And Alex says, "Oh, she hasn't seen a script yet." So there they were waiting for me to deliver my lines, but I never got any lines. And so that was my story. I didn't, so they told me what to say and I did it, and it was a fun day and everything like that. But that was my experience. And so when I saw the film, and it was a time when in Los Angeles, it was like I was involved in the theater in Los Angeles, and everybody kind of knew each other. So I don't know how I knew all these people, but I just did. Anyway, so when we all went, to see the movie and everything, it was so exciting. And I really saw that Chloe Webb did such an amazing job. When I saw her, there was nothing in me that felt, oh, it was my role, I should have done it. Not at all. She was brilliant. The whole film was brilliant. So it was a funny experience, and I still know some of those people till to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yes, and the craziness is that I got the opportunity to do the second question, but I get like, wow, but yet I got it. Okay. What is your perception of
I'm sorry. Say that again, please. I can't turn it up anymore, so we're going to need to speak up a tiny bit.
Okay, and I got some flu, but I will try it. What is the perception that you got for the futurist cinema and belly cinema? And it's talking about your roles in Brain Dead, and yes, you also appear on Barb Wire. It's now like a cult classic. Barb Wire.
Barb Wire. Yeah, so you're going on to the next question, but you still wanted to know something about
the Omega Syndrome.
Yeah, go ahead. Something about the Omega Syndrome, and that was one of the first movies I did, and I had to learn. I taught myself how to play pool, so I would practice playing pool because I had to play pool, and it was the first time when we were doing it. It was the first time that a director had told me that I was allowed to improvise, that I was allowed to veer from the script. Because in the theater, you never improvise. You say exactly what was written. So this blew my mind. And I had wished that I had known that earlier, because the lines were pretty silly. But other than that, that's really, you guys are asking me about stuff that was like 35 years ago, and it's like, oh my gosh. It was an interesting experience, exercise to revisit these old things and think back about how I did this, and how much time has gone by. It was interesting. So that's the only thing I really have to say about the Omega Syndrome. But it's amazing again that Xander was in it too. Yeah.
And don't worry, because we will get the newer stuff later. But Jhon always does that. He goes back in the beginning. But it's like, yes, because this channel is educational channel, and we want to know how does the people from the industry can teach us, because the reason why this channel exists, because in this city they don't got film schools. Cucuta is a small city in the north of Colombia, I really love what Jhon is doing, and when he told me that you will be here, I was like, yes. But you know how much I admire you. I cannot sum all the movies you have been, because you have appeared in a lot of movies that I love. But in fact, we are
Thank
going to ask.
you. You know, the truth
No,
of the matter is, I have to tell you, I've been in a lot of movies, but I've been tiny roles, little tiny roles in a lot of movies. But I was looking at these movies saying, wow, I've been in some really great movies. I didn't even ever, because, you know, it's easy for an actor to be like, oh, I want my roles to be bigger. But nonetheless, it's like the films themselves are pretty amazing. So you wanted to know about Brain Dead and Barb Wire.
yes, and by the way, we got the amazing Annette call from Barb Wire the last Saturday. I don't know if you remember her, the German actress.
Oh,
Yes, yes, yes.
interesting. Well, Barb Wire, first of all, I was reviewing it, and it's interesting because the plot line is about a civil war in America in 2017. You know, and then 2017 seemed so far away, and now we've passed it. But the irony is that we could have a civil war in America. We really could. And that was not a possibility when this film was made. That was purely fantastical. Fantastical, is that a word? Anyway.
Anyway.
So Barb Wire, what was interesting to me about my own experience is that it was shot at a place called the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. And it was that particular day when I filmed that little scene, it was on a carport right off of the kitchen. The thing that, let's look at my notes because I don't want to mess this up. But it was where Robert Kennedy had been assassinated in that kitchen.
Wow.
And so the ambulance and everything went to that carport. So it was very eerie to be there at night, and they had pumped in all this fake fog. And it was very, you know, the atmosphere was such, and we were, the crew and all of us, we were very aware of what had taken place right there where we were. That whole hotel is completely demolished now. It was where the Coconut Grove was. And I remember at the time, because I want to be, and I am, a character actress, meaning that I don't play myself. So for that little role, all those many years ago, I was excited because I used a Southern accent. Mm-hmm. I got to slip it in there, and they went for it. So that was good. As far as Brain Dead, and you wanted to know my perception of futuristic movies. I mean,
yes, and you also had appeared in futuristic series. I mean, you make part of the Star Trek universe. So you
Right. It's interesting. Brain Dead was written by Adam Simon, who was a friend of ours. Remember, I told you, like, at that time in the 80s, for some, like, it was like late, what was the 80s? Everybody knew each other. We all knew each other. And so Adam Simon, he was just a brilliant writer. And he has, I don't know if you guys have seen his series called Salem.
Yes, I remember.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. He's all of his, everything he does is just amazing. So I don't, it was a little part. I don't really have much to say about my own experience on it. you know, and I don't even really remember. I mean, I know that the graphics were amazing. That, I mean, with that face that was suspended, and you know, it was visually really provocative, and just in reviewing it a little bit for this, it made me think of Facebook and how we're just mining information to be able to anyway. So yeah, it's interesting how these futuristic movies, you know, there's something there. We can certainly, we can
It's okay. It's okay.
okay. We can, it makes us, if we review them and see how that they've come into fruition, we have to ask about things like Don't Look Up, you know, what kind of reality could become, you know, what would it take to make that a reality if these past films that they have so many characters, I mean, not characters, if they have so many you know, plots that we can look to now that they've become reality. So yeah, it's an interesting idea. I mean, and we all reference the Jetsons. Do you know what the Jetsons were?
In Latin America, we call them los supersónicos.
Oh my gosh. So
Yes.
you guys had that in the 60s and
Yes, because I'm an 90s kid, and I remember that, yes, they show the Looney Tunes, all these old cartoons, they show it here in Latin America, all
yes,
translated.
right. You know, and the Flintstones and all that, but the Jetsons especially, I mean, you know, with they had the watches where they would see the face, and you know, the telephones with the screens where they had people. It's just like everything that we have now. Now we just need the flying cars.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the maid robots. But I remember,
yes,
it's crazy
exactly.
because in the Jetsons they communicate like that, like we're doing it now.
I
It's
know.
crazy.
It's amazing.
Jhon, let's continue.
Wow. So you wanted to know about Ed Wood.
Yes, but wait.
Yes.
Oh, did
we
you have
wanna-
other questions? Did you want to ask me other stuff?
Look, Ed Wood is one of my favorite movies. Did you want to talk? In fact, in the question about Ed Wood, we ask you not only because it's a long question, so I will try to zoom it. And it's crazy because you were talking also about, but you got a huge career, and even we let out movies like 10 Minutes to Midnight or Freak It. Freak It is now a cult classic. But we're going to talk about, yes, how do you see the because we know that Ed Wood is a movie about movies, no? About that song called Worst Director in the World. For me, it's a masterpiece on Tim Burton.
Yeah.
But also, and I'm glad that Jhon mentioned this movie, my favorite movie in your whole career is being Jhon Malkovich. I think Spike Jonze is a genius, and you play the mother of Jhon Malkovich. And so these movies deals with, you know, like we can say Hollywood, fame, the dark side. What are the memories that you got and you can tell us about, yes, this subject? And you can talk about this masterpiece, go ahead. I will be happy and pleased.
Okay. Well, what can I say? Ed Wood is just so visually satisfying because of all just the camera angles and the acting and just the costumes, and it's absolutely brilliant. When my role was interesting because we had to do it at an old insane asylum that had been vacant for a long time. So it was really eerie in there to be in these buildings where you could see the beds that were bolted down, and where they had these contraptions that were, I guess, old-fashioned, like some kind of water therapy. So it was just like some big tube where they would put people in. It was crazy. And the way they did it was they, I guess Johnny Depp and I'm forgetting his name right now, Martin Landau, had been working all day. So what they did was they did their parts first over my shoulder, you know. And so we did that. And then they took them and did other stuff and made me wait. And then at 2 a.m,
Whoa.
they turned it around. And so I had to do all of my acting, and this happens all the time, with just a red dot.
Whoa.
But we don't see that in the film, you know. And Tim Burton had wanted it that when I'm reading the magazine, he had a big cutout of a bat, and he wanted like a big shadow to come over, and that would be what would make me look up. But it wasn't possible. And so they just had to go with what we had, because everybody, you know, it was 2 a.m. They had to get out of there. Everybody was exhausted. So that was my experience on that. The fun thing about watching that movie for me is a lot of my friends are in it. Again, it was just like at the time, I think Vicki Thomas might have cast it. I think she did. Anyway, so, and I knew a lot, I think I sent you guys a little article that I had written about the Actors Gang and this theater company with Tim Robbins that I've been in with for most of my life. Anyway, a lot of those people are in it. And so that's really, really fun for me to watch it, because we're all so young, and, you know, it was exciting. But the film itself is just a pleasure. And then
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, you wanted to know about
Being Jhon Malkovich. Yay.
About being Jhon Malkovich. Okay. Look, I watched it today because I didn't remember exactly how it was. And I know that people have told you that this happens in Hollywood, where you do not get the script. You do not know what's going on. You don't know anything. And the truth is, I play his mother, but you never see me. You never see me. So it's kind of like I'm not in the movie. Nonetheless, it's a good movie to have on my resume. I'm in the credits. And where I'm in it, I don't know if you realize this, but it's when they're chasing through, okay, and they see Jhon Malkovich's mom and dad in bed conceiving Jhon Malkovich. That was me, under the covers.
And I remember that scene because I always rewatch it. It's one of the movies that I always rewatch.
Oh, really?
So now that I know, wow, I will watch it with another eyes.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
I know we had lines, and so often, you know, lines are cut or small parts are made even smaller. But that was my experience. But it was, you know, again, the casting people are people who I still know today. We were all friends in the 80s. We lived in certain apartments, and everybody knew each other. It was pretty amazing. But yeah, I have to say that being Jhon Malkovich, I'm really glad that I watched it again today. It is very, very, very interesting. I just jotted a few things down. Let me see if I can find them. Probably not. Oh yeah. He says, I think, I feel, and I suffer. You know, I mean, it's the human existence. It's like that's the plight of being human. That's what we are. And what does he say? It raises psychological questions of a metaphysical can of worms. I like that, a metaphysical can of worms, exploiting the profound. That was really interesting, an interesting idea.
And I love how you sum it in words. You review really beautiful words. In fact, I will tell Jhon that he let me read the articles. It will be great that we translate it into Spanish or something. I will tell him, because for me, I only the translator, but for me, it's really great to know that you shared some of your articles. So I will tell Jhon. Jhon, antes de que hagas la pregunta, creo que Patti te compartió unos artículos de ella. Para mí sería un honor traducirlos. Y si deseas leerlo, porque ella decidió para la entrevista reseñar todas las películas que le dijimos. De hecho, ya se repitió bien Jhon Malkovich. Después te cuento unos datos de oro, amigo. Vas a flipar, pero continúa.
Bueno,
para mí es una mejor entrevista, hombre.
Antes de que ella responda a las siguientes preguntas, yo quisiera preguntarle sobre, de pronto, alguna anécdota sobre Tento My Night. Así sea, compartir a ver con Charles Bronson, por favor. Antes de seguir, por favor.
You have to forget Jhon. He got with this question right in this moment, but it's crazy because, yes, you started in 10 to midnight and you want to know how was share screen with Charles Bronson. Yes, I know.
Oh my God, I love Charles Bronson. My ex-boyfriend looks a lot like him, which is so funny.
Wow.
He's Mexican. Anyway, yeah, that was crazy. That was just that was like, yeah.
Yeah, you play middle.
I'm not going to talk about it.
Jhon, continúa. Jhon ya lo dijo todo, dijo que es una locura. Y que ella tiene un exnovio que se parece a Charles Bronson, que es mexicano. Amigo, continúa, dijo que es una locura, pero dice que ella lo adora como actor. Continúa.
No, increíble.
I was telling Jhon that he will die when I translate everything. He will love every answer.
Good.
But Jhon, continúa.
Bueno, ya que ella tiene, bueno, la próxima pregunta, pues yo quisiera preguntarte sobre, o sea, que defina no solo en una palabra, no sé, que nos diga cómo fue de pronto poder diferenciar, bueno, entre series como Grey Anatomy, Mad Men, Titus, Ace Ventura. Eso es increíble.
Ace Ventura es una peli, pero se lo diré de la manera que debe ser. Para usted es primordial que le cuente sobre Mad Men porque es de tu top de series favoritas. Y para mí es Titus. Okay, I did set this question because for me and for Jhon it's important to know. We know that you had appeared in a lot of series, but in the top of series from Jhon, there is Mad Men, and in my top, and it's amazing to know that you had appeared in my favorite comedy ever, that is Titus. I know it's a really dark comedy, and you appeared as the role of the bride in the final episode of the second season. But you can, yes, in fact, like you, I rewatched it. I know that you rewatched Jhon Malkovich. I rewatched this episode of Titus because it's my favorite series. But if you can want to talk about these two series, go ahead. But if you can somewhat the amazing body of work that you had done in TV, because I mean, you had appeared not also in great movies, but in great series, Mad Men, Animal Kingdom, Star Trek. Tell us, but please, if you can talk about Titus and Mad Men, we'll be happy.
Okay. I have to tell you that when I was that age, when I did that show, I did theater all the time, every night I was doing a play. I didn't watch television that much. So I'm sorry, but I can't really regale you with any fantastic stories about Titus, because it was one of those jobs where I went and I did it and I I hardly remember it.
Okay.
Because for us, I guess, I mean, Titus must have been a really big thing for you guys, but for us, not so much. It wasn't something that stuck in our memory as, you know, an iconic kind of series.
No, in fact, you are right, because even the commercials in Latin America, they were, you will laugh. In fact, I will tell you for you to laugh. It was like, the commercials, the translation were like, we put it next to these files, the aliens don't watch the series. We put it next to the Simpsons, the Homer don't like the series. In fact, they always put this series next to a big series like Riva in that age. Riva, Malcolm. Now, I remember even that series about Roswell. No, Titus don't hit, but it got like a cool following. I know it's a really dark comedy, and it's crazy that we ask about that, because you had appeared also in better roles from bigger series like the Sledgehammer, the Nut House.
Yes, Sledgehammer I did for a couple of years. That was really fun. Fun.
You can tell us in this answer, and I don't feel, in fact, I feel great that you tell me that about Titus, don't worry. You can tell us about a good memory that you got from series, but it's great because, in fact, I will change the question, because I really love when the actors and actresses told us about theater, because sometimes, yes, IMDb don't tell about the importance of working on theater, and you as a character actress, I see that theater got a really special place in your heart. Tell us. Or do you want to move on to the next question? It's okay.
Well, I'll just tell you a little bit, because like I said, that during that time in Los Angeles, a lot of people came out of UCLA. There was a huge theater scene. Like the woman who the casting director for Titus, she knew everybody. All that group was like, and we all knew one another. John Cusack, who is in Jhon Malkovich, he was friends with Tim Robbins when we were all doing theater. And so Tim Robbins and some of those folks, they went out to Chicago to teach Jhon and his theater company our particular style, which was based in Commedia dell'arte. And so I thought it was very cool to see Jhon working with the puppets, even though I'm sure that somebody else did it, but whatever, because that was what we all come from, is this devotion to this style that we learned from a French company, but it's all based in Commedia dell'arte. We didn't do just regular theater where you try to get somebody to come hire you for a movie by doing theater. We really did theater because we were passionate about it, and we still are. And that particular style, we had the white face and the fat pads and the wigs, and it was a lot of the drums, and it's very high energy. And so it was really a special time. So like if Ed Wood, I don't know if you know the actor Brent Hinkley, he was in Ed Wood. He played the cop. He plays the cop who's like really kind of dumb and stuff. And anyway, so he was in our group. Ned Bellamy was in our group. Like all of these people, we all knew each other. So it was an exciting time, and it kind of bled into the film industry also, you know.
And it's great that you mentioned Tim Robbins, because one of the movies that now is another cult classic is Cradle Will Rock, and it's that amazing. I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm watching the casting, and oh my god! In fact, you had made part, and it's great to acknowledge that, no? And in fact, I think that's Jhon, viene la última pregunta, ¿cierto?
Sí.
It's great because we are talking about big casts in big movies and important movies of the ages, and yes, we had to end with Don't Look Up. I mean, that movie, wow, the casting, the plot, that scenes.
Yeah.
They say that, oh yes, it's a comedy and it's fiction, but that movie is so real. And in fact, I want to tell you something crazy before you talk about Don't Look Up. There was even also a journalist that said that the people, and in fact, we got elections yesterday, but had to vote for like a month. They say that Don't Look Up will be the movie that also will change the politics in Colombia. I mean, the people were like, wow, yes. And maybe there's possibly like we got a left-wing president. I don't know. But it's crazy because yesterday, finally, we could say the partido, the politics that had been in the power like for 20 years, they lost. And Colombia was always a win, a very not right win, yes, a very right, and yesterday they lost. And I still remember when that journalist said that the people that saw Don't Look Up will learn to vote. And I was, what? Tell
Oh
us, tell
my
us, please.
God, that's amazing. That's amazing. And that just happened yesterday?
Yes, it's crazy because
Oh, hallelujah. That is wonderful.
I had to tell you, there will be another round of votations, and we got, okay, the Gustavo Petro, that is the left-wing candidate, and Rodolfo Hernandez, that he's from the right, but it's crazy because he wasn't a small candidate. He's not from the. We know that now the government say that the right government say, oh, we will support this candidate for the left candidate don't win. But it's crazy because we finally defeat this horrendous government that we got from 20 years, Alvaro Uribe.
That's
Yes, it's
huge.
crazy. And I'm happy to tell you that.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
So happy to hear that. That's just wonderful.
And I'm so happy to share it with one of my favorite actors.
Oh, thank you.
What can you tell us about Don't Look Up?
Well, Don't Look Up. Okay, here's my story about Don't Look Up. First of all, Adam McKay is married to Shira Piven, and Shira Piven is a friend of the Actors Gang, and so with Tim Robbins and everyone, and she was involved with, there's a prison project where the actors go in and teach acting to prisons, and Shira was a part of that, and she's also directed there. So it was, again, just sort of cross-pollination, and Tim certainly knows Adam, and so it was just wonderful to be a part of that movie because of that too. It's just a nice lefty community that we have. Yeah. So the thing is, what makes it my part interesting about Don't Look Up is that it came completely out of the blue. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The film had been already finished.
Wow.
4 months prior. It was done. It was cut. It was
because
done.
I remember that some of the actors that we got from the movie tell us that this was before COVID. They showed it before COVID. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, and then they worked on it some more, but yeah, it had been done. So I guess Adam McKay decided that he needed the French president. He wanted to do a montage. And so my manager called and said somebody that the casting office had called and asked for one of his actors. But he explained that actor did not speak French, that he was just using a French accent in whatever she had seen him in. And he said, but I do have an actress who does speak French.
Wow.
So I had just done a self-tape in French, and also I had done a self-tape for another project where I was speaking with a French accent. I was speaking English with a French. So he sent both of those clips to the casting office, And that is how I got cast. So this was on a Wednesday. Maybe it was even a Thursday. Maybe they decided on Thursday. And I was to shoot it on Saturday. So, and it was, of course, it was more than one line. It was a nice little piece. I had to do it with the French accent, and it was complicated. But this is the thing. You don't get any information. No information. I mean, none. I didn't know who Bash was. I didn't know who the president, all these names. I didn't know the story. I just had to make up, to try to figure it out. And then, so that's on Friday. I'm learning the lines. It was maybe, I don't know, it was a nice chunky paragraph, and it wasn't easy to memorize. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, what if they ask me to do this in French? Now, I speak French. My family moved out here when I was 5 years old, and I would go back to France often to see my grandmother, but I don't have really an adult presidential vocabulary. So I was really panicked. So I called my mom, and I had her, we translated the whole speech in French. And I tried to learn it in French too. And I was really panicked. I did not know what to expect. So what I did is I made cue cards for myself. And I was like, you know what? If they want me to do it in French, I'm just going to have cue cards, and they're just going to show me, and that's how we're going to do it. So on that Saturday morning, and I was nervous. So that Saturday morning we went downtown. I didn't know what to expect at all. I didn't know if they were going to have a lot of extras, and I was going to be behind a podium talking to a bunch of people. I had no clue, but that's how it is being an actor when you do small parts. You never know. And even when you do medium parts, it's man, I think you asked me about Grey's Anatomy. That was a situation where I didn't know anything, and it made me mad. But so we shot it in this building. First, they were going to do the green screen. Then we shot it in the lobby of that building. And at some point, the costumer, one of the people came and said that they overheard that they were not going to do it in French. So I was so relieved. I was so relieved that I could just do it in English with a French accent. And they changed the last line. I think they changed a couple of words in the line, whatever. I had to adjust. But we did it. We spent about a half an hour on it, and that was it. It was done. And that was it, And so I didn't know what to expect at all. And, I seeing it, I was like, really? Did they really need to have the French president? Because the montage was so hectic. Mm-hmm. And it's like you couldn't even really understand what I was talking about because it was so out of context, kind of. And then with the thick French accent, it was hard to hear. I was like, wow, all right, well, whatever, okay. But I'm thrilled to have been a part of that. I loved it. I just thought it was wonderful. And it's just right. I love the satire. A lot of people in the United States didn't like it. And one of your questions was could this ever happen? And I truly believe that the idiocy that is taking place in our country could easily bring down the whole world. Yes. It is so unbelievably ridiculous how people behave and the things that they think and just the lies that they're willing to accept. It's plausible. This don't look up, that they're not supposed to look up at a meteor. It's completely believable. And I was glad that I was so happy that somebody made a film to just shove it in their faces. Oh, it's so irritating when you just can't do or say anything. You know, you just want to slap them. And I thought it was not only about climate change, but it had to do with COVID, just the way that the Republicans dealt, with COVID and just how they were just minimizing it. I think there's blood on their hands. I mean, I was livid about that. Anyway, I won't go down that road. But yeah.
Wow. I will ask my friend, he got more questions. I am amazed. Yo no sé si tengan más preguntas.
No, quiero felicitarla. Bravo.
Hey, you guys, I have a couple questions for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, here's my question. I saw that you have interviewed many, many people. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is your experience? Like, do you see a theme in artists and actors? Are there any particular characteristics? Is it like that we all have like a lot of passion, or is it like what do you observe? Because you're in a unique position of having interviewed many people now from all across different, the world, really.
I got my own answer, but I will ask Jhon because Jhon is,
Okay.
Jhon, Patti te hace una pregunta que es muy buena. Creo que tengo una respuesta, pero quiero oír la tuya. Ella dice que como hemos entrevistado a bastantes personas, actrices, que si tú ves una característica en ellos, no sé, si es la pasión o qué has visto, pues porque dice ella que estamos en una posición pues muy buena, ¿no? Podemos hablar con mucha gente y tú sabes lo que yo le he dicho a veces a la gente, ¿no? Que como es un canal pues nuevo y pequeño, pues tenemos la suerte de que podemos hablar con quien queramos, ¿cierto? Y nadie nos va a decir sí o no. Pero bueno, resumiendo, ¿qué has visto tú en las personas que has entrevistado?
Bueno, esa es una buena pregunta, gracias, Peide. Es una buena pregunta, Peide. Lo que yo he visto en los entrevistados es la manera en que ellos, a pesar de que muchos me dicen de que por qué yo los entrevisto a ellos, yo les digo de que probablemente, primero también por el interés que es en hacer las cosas sin recibir nada a cambio, y también en la manera en cómo ellos se expresan el arte que muy pocos lo reconocen, y pues como yo siempre les digo a ellos, así sea un ganador del Oscar, yo voy a tratar con sumo respeto o el canal le da el lugar al que sea también debutante. Y eso es lo que a ellos siempre les ha encantado.
Okay, this is a great answer from Jhon, and I will sum up with the same thing that I think the same, but I will sum it because I came to the channel later. The first translator screw up. So he asked me like, Andres, I don't know you, but I know you love cinema. If you want to translate, help me. We do, Jhon and myself, we do this stuff we don't ask anything from change. In fact, we don't lead from the channel. We got another jobs. I know that this is a project that Jhon started in university, but came to life. It was like later the artist started to answer the mails. So now it's not a school project. Now it's a project, a channel. What Jhon see, and I agree, is that first we can have like Oscar winners, but we also got debutants, and we gave the same, like just the same treatment, because what we see in all the people that have been here is that the patient that they told about his art, because like you mentioned, I want to tell you, we didn't know about the thing about Sander because we don't read, like, oh,
right, well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and no, you will laugh about some things that people. One of the actresses that we interviewed with, she was like the girlfriend from Michael Bay, and she speaks a lot of things about Michael, and we were like, wow. But no, in fact, and it's beautiful that you told really beautiful things about Sander. We admire him. But this channel is about the arts and all the people, even the crazier ones, because we got people like like Zimmerman, the comic writer that he's such a character. This is a channel about the arts, and this is a channel about showcasing everything. It's crazy. You will see people from all the areas, and sometimes I think I tell to Jhon, man, Jhon, you had like make like a list of people from every area because it's crazy. We got like more than 200 interviews, and it's still growing. And we know that's a small channel. We don't win money, but for me, it's so beautiful. I mean, like I tell you, I got flu, I got my problems. Colombia is still a third world country, but for me, it's like, oh, I had to log on and talk to Patti Tippo. Wow, go ahead. Thank you for that question. If you got more questions, go ahead. We answered well.
Well, I guess I was just thinking more. Yes, you did. Thank you. And I was just curious about like, what do all of these actors have in common? Is it just that that this is their profession, or do you see any characteristics that we all share?
Okay, I will ask Jhon, but Jhon dice que es una buena respuesta, pero ella quiere saber es qué característica todos tienen en común, que si todos son iguales o no.
No, no. Son distintos en la manera en cómo ellos ven de pronto, unos lo ven para temas, para aprender a encontrarse a sí mismo, otros son para poder de pronto llegar a una audiencia, pero para que el arte quede como un legado, pero otros lo hacen es para, o sea, satisfacer sus necesidades de que hago cine, pero o sea, no estoy muy así ansioso de que muchos lo vean. O sea, cada cabeza es un mundo, por así decirlo.
Yes, Jhon said that every head is a world, and yes, some actors they see this, and also you know more about the subject. Like, yes, we do this project, but we don't care if this project generates a lot of money. I get known about this project. No, I go to work, I do my work, and okay, wrap up. But others, yeah, they see it like, yes, I really like this project that I'm doing because they will see me, no, in another country or another audience. Yes, everybody's different. And I agree because we have interviewed here a lot of actors from a lot of background. I mean, a modesty apart, we see the vastness of your career, and it's amazing. And like you say, and it's way that you mentioned, it's really an art behind doing small parts, but it's like contributing to great and amazing movies, even in a small part. I agree with Jhon. Every actor and actress is different. Every actor and actress is different. Yes.
Interesting.
You got more questions?
No, that was it. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was curious.
But we got the final question from you. No, the camera is yours. If you want to send a hi to Colombia, to everybody you want, share your the social media so people can follow you. Tell people that, stay attend to this project. Go ahead. For us, it's a big thank you.
Well, I'll just tell you a little bit. I have just moved from Los Angeles to Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here for 6 months and I love it. It is beautiful. I think the climate must be a little bit more like yours than California. And I have met the most wonderful people. Most of them are from south of the border, from South America. I have 3 friends from Colombia, one from Brazil, one from Peru, and a lot of others. And they're all very musical. So there's a lot of singing. And it's just been an extraordinary experience to, and some Mexican people too. It's been wonderful to move to someplace and be so welcomed by this community of people from Latin America. It's incredible.
And what genre sings the people from Colombia? What they sing for you? Vallenato, salsa, what music genre the people from Colombia have?
Oh, it's a lot of ballads by my friend Blanca. Let's see, she plays the guitar and she plays all sorts of and a lot of people speak French also. And so there's all sorts of music, but a lot of the like ranchera song, you know, the Mexican rancheras and there's all sorts of things. And it's just been extraordinary.
And it's crazy before we wrap up, because Colombia and Mexico, they're like twins. In Colombia, we listen to rancheras. In Colombia, we got like a wrong cowboy culture. And yes, in fact, in the channel, there is a friend from Mexico called Cesar. A big hi to Cesar. But we are going to take the picture so we can share this interview. So please give us your beautiful smile. Before we end, do you want to share your social media or say something?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful experience, and I wish you just the best of everything and just huge success. Thank you.
Dale mis agradecimientos a Ivy.
Say thanks to Ivy, please.
Thank
manager.
you.
To
Okay.
your manager, to allow us to do this interview.
Oh, the pleasure was mine, really.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.